So in this video we're going to go ahead and work on styling the header, the very top piece here of the page. So first thing I want to go in to Sublime and go back to where we had defined our header. So our header is right here, and we want to remember that inside our header we had a container class that contained a division whose ID was logo. And the purpose of the logo ID was to contain this logo right here. And then we have a navigation division. So also inside of the header division, I have a second container that contains my navigation division. So ID equals navigation. So what we need to do is go through and style each of these in order. So the header first, so the container that contains everything, then the logo container, then the navigation container. And these containers that we created only span 85% of the page width, but the header itself is going to span 100% of the page width because we haven't constrained its width. So we're going to go ahead and first look at how to style just this header piece. And I want a minimum height on this of 100 pixels. I want a bottom border that matches this inner fire color. I actually decided I want to put the top border on to match, and I want a little bit more margin than what I currently have here. So we're going to change things a little bit, but it's essentially going to be the same type of a header. So I'm going to go ahead and start working through this. So I'm going to go into my style sheet. And I already took care of global attributes in the previous video. So now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, hey, now I'm going to work on styling my header. So the first thing that we're going to work on is the header itself. So div pound header. And I had some specific attributes that I wanted applied to that header. I wanted a min height of 100 pixels. We also wanted, there's a specific background color that we want, background color. And the background color actually is coming from this color palette. And it's this, I use this for the page background and this little bit darker gray blue for my header. So grab a color selector, get the hex code for the color that I want, and put the background color for that header division the way that I want it. And we've got, what else do we need to do? Oh, we wanted the bottom we wanted a bottom border, border, here we go, border dash bottom, and I want to do 2 pixels solid. And the color that I wanted was this inner flame right here. So I'm going to grab my color selector, get the hex code for that color, and paste that into my border bottom, which needs to be spelled correctly. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this and set the same border on the top. So border top, same value, and then we wanted a margin. Well, before we put in the margin, let's look and see what we have. So I'm going to go Control Save, and we'll scroll back up and see what we have so far. So there's the border top, the border bottom. We've got the background colors changed, and we want the margin on the bottom to push this next division down, so there's some separation between the divisions. And the margin on the top is going to keep this top border from being right up against the top of the web page, and that's my reason for adding those margins in. It's personal preference. So I'm going to go margin top, and we're going to add 15 pixels of margin on the top and margin bottom. We're also going to add 15 pixels of margin on the bottom, and then that should give us some top and bottom margin now. So it's a little bit of separation between things. And I think that's everything I wanted to change in the header section itself. So now I need to work on the logo division. So this is my logo, and what I want my logo to do is float to the, I want it to float to the left. I wanted to change the color and italicize the central cascade. And I want some padding around it. So we're going to go ahead and start working on that. So I'm going to go back in here, and where we're working on, I'm inside the header. My logo is inside of a floating container. So we're going to go ahead and work on this now. So into the style sheet. So work div, we're going to work on the logo header. And the logo header, I want padding in that of 1.5 ems, I think is what I decided I wanted. I wanted this to float to the left. Let's save that and make sure that that's actually taken. So there's my floating to the left, pulling my my anchors up in on the other side. So I floated left. I've got my padding around it now. So now we're going to go and change this color to match the top and bottom border and italicize it. And to do that, we want to remember that we wrapped it in a span. So over here, my central cascade is wrapped in a span. So we want to target the span that's inside of the logo ID division. So right underneath this, I'm going to say, hey, div, and you could actually just go pound logo, but I like putting the div in front, pound logo, and inside pound logo, and if it is that was what, a header. That's a header inside of, span, we're styling the span. So div pound logo, if there's a span inside of the logo division, have it behave a little bit differently. And then what we want to do is font style. We want to do font style, we want to do italic. And we want to change the color on that as well. So we're going to change the color to the same color that we put on the border of the header. So I'm just going to go up here and grab that color that I already got. So copy that color, recolor that span, and I misspelled style, so it's showing up in white. So put the Y in there, and then I'm going to make it bolder. So I'm going to go font weight. And I'm going to, instead of bold, I'm actually going to put bolder and see how that looks. And let's save that and see how that changes things. So we're going to leave that the way it is. So I've got the logo how I want it. I'm going to step over here now and style my links. So these are in an unordered list, so I need to get rid of the bullets. I need to change this to inline or inline block. Either of the two would work, so that I can get them to show up linearly on the page instead of stacked vertically. So I'm going to change them to inline and then set each list item to float left. And then we'll do some tweaks on the font sizes. So first we're going to go in and say, hey, what are we working on? So in the index, we are now in the navigation, and I want to tell list elements inside of the navigation to behave differently, and I want to take the bullets off of the unordered list. So we'll start with taking the bullets off of the unordered list. So I'm going to go div pound navigation. So inside of the navigation, if you see an unordered list, we want to take the list style type. We want to take the list style type to get rid of the bullets and change it to none. So let's just make sure that takes. So we got rid of that, and then what we're going to do now is specifically attack the list items themselves. So in our HTML, each anchor is in a list, so we're going to style these list items themselves. So I'm going to go div pound navigation, and then we're going to, navigation. If you are a list item in the navigation division, we want you to behave display inline. I'm going to choose inline block. I may change that to just inline. I want to put some padding around those list items, padding, and I'm going to make the padding to match the logo padding. So I'm going to go with 1.5 ems, so 1.5 times whatever the default is. And then I'm going to change the font size a little bit. So font size, I'm going to go with 1.2 ems, so 1.2 times larger than whatever the default is. And let's just take a look and see how that's looking. Oh, and I want to float these. We'll change these first. Let's just change this, and then we're going to float them. So there they are, and let's float them to the left just to make sure. Float left, and save that change, and refresh. And then we want to go ahead and, maybe we don't want to float those to the left. Let's float those to the right. I think we want to float those right. That doesn't look good there. Control save. Let's see how it looks if we float to the right. That's better. So I think that looks pretty good. And then what we want to do now is we've got this stuff styled. We need to actually take the anchor tags themselves. We want to get them to behave differently. And what I'm wanting to get is this hover state, where we switch the color of the background, and the text color switch on hover. So we'll go ahead and attack that next so that we get a hover state on these. So I'm going to drop down, and I'm going to go div pound navigation. If you are an anchor in the navigation, then we're going to want you to have, we're going to go for white. So an anchor in the navigation, we're going to go color, change you to white. And then let's see if we do a text transform. Let's do capitalize and see what we think of that. Oop, that didn't take. Oops, I don't know what I just did there. Text transform, capitalize. I mean, I could just capitalize it. I thought that was going to work, so I need to think about that for a minute. Control refresh. Yeah, so I'll need to think about that one. So while I'm thinking about that, I may come back to that a lot later. Div pound navigation. We need to do the hover state, navigation. So we're going to go :hover. And when we hover over it, we want to switch the background color and foreground color. So the color, we're going to switch it to match the background of the header division. So I'm going to grab the background color out of the header division and paste that in for color. And then we're going to change the background color to white, which is the color that we have on the text of the anchor tag. So we're going to go background color, change it to white. We'll save that and make sure it takes. And now we have a hover state. So that would be good right now, except I'm really bothered that the text transform didn't work. Text transform CSS, text transform property, text transform, ooh, uppercase, not capitalized. That's why it didn't work. So I had the value incorrect. So we're going to go text transform uppercase. I just want to see if it looks better. Except you have to spell uppercase right. Control save. And let's see how that looks. Refresh. I think I'm going to leave them capitalized. So we're going to call the header done, and we'll work on the showcase area next. Ooh. I think I need to change this background color. I don't think it changed. We've got the header. Before I run off, I want to take a look at that background. I did background color right there. Oh, I cut it. See what I did when I changed the hover state? Instead of copying and pasting the color code, I cut and paste the color code out of the header. So I lost my background color, and I just noticed it as I was getting ready to exit. Let's pull that back and make sure I've got my background color. There we go. That's what we wanted. And now I think we're done, and we'll work on the showcase region next. I'm going to stop this video.